Okay, so we have, yes, it's 5 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock, and I think we should just go ahead, and whoever joins us will catch up since we're going to send the slides out anyway. So I would like to welcome everybody to this webinar. My name is Aisha Waziri Umar. I am the CEO, founder of Inara Foundation, and Inara Foundation are the creators of iProduce. iProduce is an agribusiness virtual platform, which was set up in order to create an ecosystem for agribusiness. We all know that right now there's a lot of, let's say, job unemployment. We have a lot of issues socially, and we need to find ways to be creative and look for ways that we can generate employment, create wealth. And one of the ways that iProduce has identified, or let's call it low-hanging fruit, as they say, is agribusiness generally. And even in agribusiness, there's some much easier, or let's say, businesses that are easier to go into. And one of them, it happens to be poultry. Poultry does not require as much capital as many other agribusinesses. And I will not say too much about the business itself because we have two people here. One person is from the Ministry of Agriculture, Department of Livestock, Poultry, and he will tell us about himself, what he does. So we have government representative here who's going to speak to us about all the programs and policies of government. Then we also have a second speaker, and this is Mosun Omoru. Omoru, she's one of the people I just really admire for her grit, her business sense. And basically, she's a success story, and we'd like her to share her success story so you can see how much work and effort is required in practical terms. So that's why we're combining the government programs and policies plus practical aspects. And by the time you have those two, I think people can actually consider going into agribusiness. So at this point, I've introduced myself. I'm going to hand over to our program coordinator. Her name is Farida Aminu. Farida will do the introductions of the speakers, and then we should start the actual paper, the first presentation, which is from the Ministry of Agriculture. Thank you very much for joining us. Farida, over to you. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining in Nigeria. And I'll introduce the speakers now. We have Mr. Victor Egbon, and he's a Deputy Director in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Department of Animal Husbandry Services. He's the head of the Monogastric Division, one of the 5 divisions of the Department of Animal Husbandry Services. He is an alumnus of University of Ibadan, BSc Agric in Animal Science, and University of Nigeria in Nsukka MBA, and University of Abuja, MSc Animal Science. He's a member of Animal Science Association of Nigeria and Nigeria Institute of Animal Science. He has participated in the annual International Production and Processing Expo in Atlanta, Georgia. Then next we have Cynthia Moshumola, and she's an agribusiness entrepreneur and consultant who is extremely passionate about food, farming, and the community. Her dream is for Nigeria to attain national food security, which can only be achieved through increased education of youths and women within the local communities. She's a zoology graduate and alumna of the Pan-African University under the Enterprise Development Center, an Ashoka Fellow and alumna of the U.S. Department of State's International Visitors Leadership Program. So I guess we will begin now. Mr. Victor, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. I'm so pleased to be here in this platform, and I hope my presentation will make a very meaningful one, especially to the audience, and try to achieve its purpose, which is like Madam Aisha has said, the bottom line of this program is to ensure that the youth and whoever is interested gets that opportunity to get something to do, to be employed, and for wealth creation. So I'm going to be speaking on the policies and intervention in poultry production in Nigeria. That is from the federal government, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. So let's go on to the next slide. So our table of content.
Hello, Mr. Victor. Sorry, network is not good.
We look at the government policies, programs, and their projects. Then the policy right now, that's the National Agricultural Technology. Yes, please.
Okay. No, it was
is it better now?
Much better. Please continue.
Hello, is it better now?
Yes, it is. It is. Thank you.
Okay, so I said our table of content, what we are going to go through after the introduction, we'll look at some of the policies, programs, and projects of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. Then we'll look at the National Agricultural Technology and Innovation policy, which is the latest policy in agriculture. Then we'll look at the goals and objectives of a poultry value chain, the specific objective of the value chain, then interventions and achievements in poultry production, and of course, the impact of the interventions in poultry production. Of course, we equally look at the challenges of policy conceptualization, implementation, and we'll conclude and look at some way forward. So let's quickly go to introduction. So, like Aisha has equally said, poultry is actually a low-hanging fruit in agricultural production, and the role it plays cannot be emphasized in the economy. And it is the most commercialized of all the agricultural value chain. And the world is over about 10 trillion naira and employs a whole lot of Nigerian, about 20 million, both in direct and indirect job creation. And also its contribution to agricultural GDP is about 25%. And of course, you can get a quality animal protein from poultry. An egg is balanced, balanced meal, and it is the cheapest means of animal protein you can get. Then equally, you have about 8.5 million households that is involved in a family poultry, where we have about 70. That's to tell you how involved women and youth are in poultry, and because of the easy nature of that enterprise, it is not very expensive to to go into. And we all know, poultry is something that for those of us who grew up in the villages, your auntie can give you maybe one hen, and before you know, you start making some money from it by selling the cock at the end of the day, and you get poultry meat from it and all that. Then the poverty alleviation capability of poultry production can not be overemphasized also. And because of this important role it plays, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, through the Department of Animal Husbandry Services, has actually been up and doing in terms of interventions through the various policies, programs, and projects in the ministry. So quickly, we'll look at some of those policies, like we know about ATA, that is the Agricultural Transformation Agenda, which came forth. That was between 20. That was ATA was the first that operated in this administration. ATA gave rights to give birth to APP, that's Agricultural Promotion Policy. Then we have NDP, we have NLTP, we have a MIRA press program, and the most recent policy, which is the NATIP, which is the National Agricultural Technology and Innovation Policy that just launched this month, that is going to run from this year to 2027. So we'll just look at these policies and how they have actually impacted. I have mentioned the agricultural transformation agenda, which ran between 2012 to 2015, where the focus was actually on commercializing agriculture, making agriculture a business. That was during the GS program. We all know about it, especially for those in the crop affected poultry. Then we had the Agricultural Promotion Policy, APP, which ran from 2016 to 2020. And of course, the National Development Plan, NDP, which was still operating from 2021 to 2025. Then we had a micro reform in agribusiness, which is a MIRA, that ran between 2015 to 2021. That was actually a project that we did in collaboration with the World Bank. The MIRA was funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and we did it in collaboration with SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria, and NIAS. It came up with a lot of impressive outcome, which we'll look at later. Then you have the National Livestock Transformation Plan, which is running from 2019 to 2028. Virtually all we do in the Department of Animal Husbandry Services actually keys into that National Livestock Transformation plan. And of course, poultry production is one of them. Then we have the JET EPRES. It's a World Bank sponsored project for about 6 years, 2020 to 2026. The project has just been negotiated. It has been prepared. It took some time, and it's just been negotiated. They are yet to start. They're about starting, and it involves a lot of states in the federation. Those states were selected based on some criteria, and of course, the latest policy, like I said, the National Agricultural Technology and Innovation Policy, which seem to look at trust and objective of the government from the aspect of technology, applying technology and innovation and the 21st century knowledge into boosting agricultural production. So that is what we do. So please, can you go to the next slide, please? Go to the next slide, please. So we know, like the trust that we said, an objective of all government policies, program and objective in poultry production is actually to ensure a sustainable growth and development in the subsector, which will lead to its transformation. And what's the bottom line? Is for food security, in the food security, job creation, to end foreign exchange and to improve the standard of living of the citizens, and of course, to encourage import substitution and protect our local industry. With some of those policies, like I have mentioned, we all know about the ban of the importation of poultry and poultry products, which have been on since 2003. And of course, we know the impact of that because poultry and poultry product was being imported into the country, and that killed a lot of farms. But with that ban, I think a lot of poultry farms that has gone merry-bound, where we actually revived, because now people now started patronizing locally produced the poultry and the poultry products. That program actually seeks to address. So can we go on to the next slide, please? Can we go on to the next slide, please, Habib? Okay, can people hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Please.
Loud and clear.
I think he has already
Okay.
covered the slide.
Okay, I think I've deliberated. Sorry, I've deliberated on this slide. So can we go ahead? So I think the next slide should be okay. At the purpose of NATIV, like I said, NATIV is actually the National Agricultural Technology and Innovation Policy is the new kid on the block that was just launched recently, but this month to be precise, and it is to run from this year to till 2027, 2022 to 2027. What the thrust of this policy is actually using technology, like I said, it is very obvious technology and innovation, and the knowledge of the 21st century, where you begin to use the ICT, where you start using things like robots and what have you to improve, to boost agricultural production. This time around, we are now looking at poultry production. So because of course we quite know the problem that is within agricultural sector, especially the poultry. We see the high cost of feed, and the insecurity and the climate change. So that with this policy, it will now encourage the use of climate smart agricultural procedure that can now counter the effect of climate change in agriculture, and especially poultry production. And that, of course, we in the Department and Federal Ministry of Agriculture, we are already doing some of this. We see like we are into construction of climate smart poultry houses, and using technology and all that. We are collaborating with AFOS Foundation. It's an NGO sponsored by a German government agency. We are collaborating with them. We have set up a multi-stakeholder platform on poultry, where we will address the challenging and teaching issue in the poultry industry. So that is actually applying technology to solve some of the problems that the poultry industry is facing. So that is basically what the NATIV seek to address. So let's go to quickly the goals and objectives of poultry value chain. Yeah, the poultry value chain seeks to increase national egg and poultry meat output. Of course, it's about the cheapest means of animal protein. If you have taking an egg is a balanced meal, and the production is not it's not a very expensive one to go into. And the goal again is to import substitution and to promote export. And by that, of course, we have minimum operating procedure that we have developed to ensure that the operators in the value chain go by this, so that their product can be exportable while meeting the local demand. Then, of course, we looking at enhancing capacity for value addition and to industrialize the sub sector, so that most of the things we do can be mechanized. We can do a poultry, have a poultry house of maybe running into hundreds of thousands. Of course, you cannot do that manually without applying technology. That is what the objective of the poultry value chain. And we here in Federal Ministry of Agri, we work towards that. Most of our projects are targeted towards take smallholder farmers, that we can empower women and youth, of course, that we empower them with startup kits, give them beds, give them feed, cages, and all that. And before you know, they have started. And part of our vision is to actually utilize and encourage the use of our locally improved local breeds of poultry. We have the Noila, we have the Shika Brown, and we have the Funab Alpha. So the next slide, please. Then the specific objective for the poultry value chain is to actually an enforcement of a feed standard, and to develop alternative feed ingredients, especially the Calabar breeds and agro-industrial byproducts. Yes, of course, because of the high cost of a feed that we all know, which is one of the major challenges that the poultry industry is facing right now. So we are trying to encourage the use of alternative feeds, ingredients, so that it can substitute for the major ingredient like maize. Then we support large investment opportunities and industrial processing. Just recently here in Dede in Abuja, the minister commissioned one of the processing facility, poultry processing and storage facility in Dede. That was a standard processing facility to encourage hygienic processing of a poultry product. So those are some of the objectives and the empowerment of a smallholder poultry farm to give them improved beds, either the locally improved breed or the foreign breed, depending on what we want to achieve in that regard. Then some of the interventions and achievements that have been recorded in poultry, the poultry industry. Like I said, one of the major challenges that the poultry industry is actually having is that of feed. And the feed, the major ingredient of feed is maize. And maize is considered about 60% of the cost of the ingredient of that feed, and is very expensive. That of course means that the higher the cost of maize, the higher the cost of feed, and the higher the cost of production. So in 2020, just because of the effect of the COVID-19 and the effect of the insurgency and climate change, maize suddenly became so scarce and all that. Then the poultry sector was hit. They came crying to the government, and of course there was a release of feed millers. And also that same 2020, approval waiver was given to 4 companies to import about 262,000 metric tons of CHI, Walcott Limited, Camfla Maize, Premier Feed Company. And in 2021, the federal government also released about 10 metric tons of maize to poultry administration in the southwest. So also some of our interventions, like in our ministry here, our department identified some retiring staff to make sure that they don't go back to nothing. We identified them and put them through. We train them on the processing or marketing of poultry and poultry products, and they are so happy also that when the type of we gave them starter packs, and some of them they chicks, either in broiler or layers. Some give them the broilers, both improved and indigenous breed, like I mentioned, Noila, Funab Alpha, which we are trying to promote. Some of we gave them point of lay, depending on their level of awareness in poultry production, and of course we gave them bags of feed, and some we gave the galvanized the battery cage system for those who are giving layers. And this, of course, this intervention has actually made some poultry farms that has gone on that to be revived once again. So some of the other interventions that we have, please let's go on to the next slide. Some of the intervention we have done that made impact was the construction of a prototype climate smart poultry houses. Like I said, in some states, though they are the demonstration funds for the poultry farmers who are interested to come and see how effective it is. That's in response to the effect of climate change. And the poultry farmers are actually expected to get this experience and actually replicate it in their own farms. Then we, like I told you, we rehabilitated the cottage poultry processing facility in Dede, which the Honorable Minister commissioned to. Then also because Nigeria is reputed to be one of the largest producer of egg in Africa. Sometimes we know we do run into problem of egg glut, where you have people produce egg and nowhere to, they don't have buyers and all that. So we now decide to support smallholder egg powder producers with equipment to ensure that they are able to mop up this egg to turn it into egg powder. So, of course, capacity building on best practices in production, processing, and marketing, and market linkage for both prospective and practicing smallholder farmers to ensure that they are actually do right. Then, of course, there's this program, NECPRO, National Egg Production Scheme. It's a project that actually was supposed to assist the government school feeding program, which we started in Ondo State, though that we had some issues which we are trying to revive. We now want to carry that NECPRO program in here in FCT, where we can micromanage it and see the running of it ourselves to make sure that it is a success. So please, can we go to the next slide? The next slide, please. Okay. No. Before that, yes. Okay. Like one of the objective of government is to ensure that we generate a foreign exchange from agriculture, this time around from poultry production. And the only way we can do that is to ensure that our producers and processors abide by the global best standards. So we developed and circulated a minimum operating procedure for poultry production and processing to our small scale farmers, so that their product, they will be able to follow that guide succinctly. They will be able to get products that will meet the requirements of the international market. And in collaboration with some organization, the International Finance Corporation, IFC, of the World Bank Group, and SON, then NIAS. NIAS is a National Association of Nigeria Institute of Animal Science, the SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria. In collaboration with them, there were some major things, regulatory and guidelines in poultry production that came out from that distance. Some of them we listed, we have listed here. the national industrial standard for poultry feed. We had the national standard for chicken feed, chicken feed concentrate, and that for premixes. Then even for our feed mills, there's a checklist and the standard operating procedure for our commercial field. They are supposed to meet the two millers and the on-farm feed mill, so that their operations will be up to standard. And at the end of the day, the product, the egg and the poultry meat that gets that will, of course, meet both our look for consumption. Let's go to the next slide, please. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, then let's look at some of the impact that some of these our interventions actually had on in the value chain and in the country. Most of all these our interventions, we have recorded that about 4,000 both direct and indirect jobs have been created between 2019 and 2021 in the poultry value chain. Then there is this understanding with our capacity building and all that, and with the minimum operating procedure, most of the farmers are now abiding by most of these good animal husbandry privacy procedure and measures, biosecurity measures leading to their product being of a good standard. Then we have the ban, of course, the ban on importation of poultry and poultry product, which I mentioned earlier, actually encouraged some of the farmers that had gone on that because of the impact of the imported poultry and poultry product, which was actually then cheaper, but we know the hazard it caused. Most of them were not hygienic and they were not wholesome, but people, because of they look at the economy, the price of that is cheaper than ours. But the ban on that, of course, made sure that that was no longer in the market. So people now started patronizing our local products, and of course that made sure that our local poultry producers remain in business. So this, of course, led to the improved standard of living of the farmers, because they now have more incomes to utilize for their well-being. So that, of course, there are it's not as if this doesn't happen without challenges. Of course, the policy put at the conceptualization stage and implementation, they have challenges. Part of the challenge is actually due to the fact that between the human resources and the agricultural development policies, there's a kind of a gap. So because of that, there's scarce manpower in actually to implement these policies, either to monitor its evaluation or to evaluate it. That's part of it. Of course, there's a weak coordination between the different ministries and agriculture-related institutions. Yes, there's no always there's no flow. The institution, the research institute, and some ministries that are supposed to collaborate to ensure that this policy work very well. There is no effective coordination or collaboration with them, maybe because the process of formulating these policies, they were not consulted, and of course that would lead to kind of rivalry and and gap. Then with stakeholders engagement, of course, the people who are supposed to be involved in the formulation are not being contacted. Even those to implement, there is no synergy between them in the implementation of these policies. And of course, because of politicization of some of these things, if a project comes up, the people in power will decide, okay, who are going to be the beneficiary. It will come to me, it will come to this person and go to this area and not that area. All those are, are challenges that the policies, had to make sure that some of these policies don't actually achieve its the objective. You have even some cases where some of the objectives are not clearly well spelled out. So please, let's go to the next slide.
Hello, Mr. Victor, you've gone silent. Habib, the slide is quite self-explanatory. I think he's just telling us the challenges of this programs on.
Hello.
Okay, Mr. Victor, we lost you for a minute or so. Could you continue? Thank you.
Hello. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, let me quickly do. Okay, so I was talking about some of the challenges in the formulation and implementation of the policies in poultry production, is the malpractices and in procurement and distribution of input. Like I said, the same issue of politicization during procurement and distribution. There are malpractices there, embezzlement and misappropriation of funds. Those are challenges. Then inadequate data on poultry farmers. If you we experience it, you call to the feed. They should give you information on poultry farmers, the kind of fleece you are going to get. People will put their father, they put their mother, they put their wife, put their children as poultry farmers. And when the time comes, you go and investigate, you don't see that. Then, of course, inadequate funding, then insufficient agricultural extension services. Those are most of the problem. And policies some are due to change in government. Any government that comes with abandon the previous policy and come up with his own. So with that said, we will now conclude and look at some of the some way forward. I said of course the impact of poultry, poultry production cannot be overemphasized in the economy. They create a job, they lead to wealth creation, and of course, and foreign exchange. There are people, whose farm who export their product, egg product, outside this country to neighboring countries. That and foreign exchange. But that not withstanding, they see a lot to be done in the poultry industry, especially given the challenges that is being faced as a result of the high cost of feed, the insecurity, climate change, and adequate infrastructure, and some of those challenges we have mentioned. So, in view of the above, we advocate and agricultural related institutions in the implementation of these policies, so that whatever agencies, MPAs that are to be involved, they should be carried along from the stage of the formulation and the and its implementation. That, of course, the policy will get good result, and at the end of the day, then the prevention of to prevent the wide implementation gap and interagency rivalry. Of course, if all the agencies, MDAs that are supposed to be involved are carried along in the formulation, of course, in the implementation, they will work and everybody is assigned to responsibilities that to carry out. I believe that the policy will work out perfectly well. Then there should be improved stakeholder engagement, in policy formulation and in the implementation. So every carries along from the beginning to the end of. So there should be backward innovation in production of
Mr. Victor, we're losing you again, unfortunately.
the major
Okay,
feed ingredients like maize and soya and soya bean. That is both the poultry farmers themselves and the feed millers should engage in maize cultivation, soya bean cultivation, maybe using agro where they can take this at the point of harvest. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Victor.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This is excellent.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Victor. Can you hear me? Hello. Your network has been going down.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Victor. Sorry, your network is really bad. I think we will just allow you to conclude because this is your last slide, I can see. What we do is we've asked people to write their questions on the Q&A box. We have a few questions already. Maybe we can go to question and answer. I don't know if you can hear me, Mr. Victor. Can you hear me?
It seems he's off.
Totally off. Oh dear. Okay. Wow. So we've got a few questions on the question and answer. I also have some questions. Unfortunately, he's gone off now and at the time when we needed him. So I think we're going to have to skip to the next speaker. We're supposed to start at 5, but maybe what we can do is before 5, we can open the floor, maybe people who have comments to make. We're going to send this presentation via email to people. Okay. And then if we can also put people in touch with Victor, because Victor is in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. I think it's very important that anybody who's serious about business in the poultry, in poultry business should have a link with them. And that's one thing at least we can try and do, is to make it possible for Mr. Victor to answer questions. So maybe you can open the floor and have people talk what they take away from this. And before we bring Mosu, who's a poultry farmer, she's going to share her experience with us, give us the real practical side of things. So Habib, could you open so that people can discuss? Let's have a maybe 10-minute discussion before we get the next speaker. Thank you very much. So the floor is open.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sorry
Okay, yes,
about the
Mr. Victor.
epileptic. Sorry about the epileptic network.
We have a few questions in the box. Can you access the Q&A box?
Okay, yes.
So just have a look and then maybe briefly, we've only got about 10 minutes to go before the next.
Okay, all right, okay. It says some of the policy I see is as fund leakage, where government use millions to develop policies and giving few thousand to the small scale farmers as support. So who is the actual beneficiary? Example of such intervention are NG cares, where people were asked to register and they hardly get input. Solution, I suggest that CSO should be involved in the government interventions monitoring process for desired impact. 2, small-scale farmers need access to credit and training, and there should be feedback mechanism to ensure desired impact. Okay, that was from Bashir MC Dipo Ilorin. Okay, can I attempt the question now, ma?
Yes, Mr. Victor, please do. Please.
Okay, let me start from from the bottom. We talked about training, more training. Yes, we do training of prospective and practicing farmers. People, they do come to us and we do organize that for them. And in our programs, there's no program we do without training. And the issue of credit, there are institutions that that are signed for for that. We here in the ministry and our department, we don't give credit. And what we do here is actually a small scale poultry farmers and any of our value chain. We look at a small scale because the more small scale you impact on, it has a very long, a wider multiplier effect. So that is that is it. We talked about solution about the CSO. I don't know what he means by that. By the CSO that he talked about really. So I think that's the much I can say about that. Then Mohammed Khantoum, he said this government is trying to diversify the economy from oil-based to multi-economy agriculture being the major target. However, as much as the government is pumping resources and energy into agriculture, the impact is poorly felt among the youth. The government is yet to strongly work on the mindset of the youth towards accepting agriculture as a source of livelihood. Well, I don't know where you are coming, where you stay, Mr. Mahmoud Khantoum. The fact is that, like I said, the program we do in Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Department of Animal Husbandry Services, there are some programs we do that are targeted for youth and women. And most of this, we even have demonstration. We have demonstration farm. For instance, within Abuja here, we have a demonstration farm where we encourage youth to come. Like we have been to the University of Abuja to sensitize their youth. They can come to our demonstration farm. Whatever they want, they can learn from that. So that's the essence. And this demonstration farm, we intend to extend to other states for people who are actually interested. And if you are so much interested about, you can, I don't know where you are, you can come to our office. It is open, and our various state offices, you make your request, and as much as they can, they will attend to you. So I can see there are more questions here. Okay, Bashir Salisu, he says some of the policy I see is okay. No, that has been taken. Hello, ma.
Yes, Mr. Victor, we have a few more questions. If you scroll down.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to. Okay, yeah.
Yes, you have about.
Okay, Zainab. Okay, Zainab. He says several times Federal Ministry of Agriculture reaches out to farmers for information through surveys. When the time for intervention comes, we don't hear from them. Again, we see others, benefiting. Well, some of the information you get, you give. Actually, government don't act as the way you want them to act. The truth of the matter is that these are plans. They can collect information from you this year. It might take about the next year or 2 years' time for them to come and attend to you. It doesn't mean that you have been forgotten. And that is why whoever collects whatever information for you, try to get a contact so that you can get feedback from them. Call them from time to time, and you get a result from them. Okay, Mahmoud said he stays in Niger. Okay, you are staying in Niger. Okay, in Niger there are a lot of interventions in Niger. I know that the EPRES program, Niger State is one of them. So when you get to your office, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture office in Niger State, or the State Ministry of Agriculture in Niger State, try and find out some of these projects I talked about. At least EPRES, I can tell you, Niger State is one of the participating states in EPRES, and you get to know more about that. Then Bashir, he said, my own question is, I am a lawyer farmer with a capacity of 250 beds. The business is going very well, but my problem is how to secure funds to expand my business and to be able to reach my demands. Like I said, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, we don't give a fund, we don't give a loan, but you can get to our office. Maybe If I can leave my number on this program, you can reach me at any time. Anybody who is listening, who is interested, you are interested in any poultry, you can always, I'm just a phone call away, and we can trash out whatever issue you are having.
Thank you, Mr. Victor. We will send your email and your phone number and your slide, your presentation to all the people who've attended.
Okay.
Please, thank you so much for that.
Okay. Anonymous attendee. Okay. Can I take?
I think it's the same person, the Leah
same person. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. We have Niger, Borno, and many in Abuja. So I think you've answered all the questions. So somebody who's asking Mr. Musbah Bashir, his question is, how can you get subsidized poultry feed and vet services?
Okay, well, there's nothing like a subsidized poultry feed, actually. Sometimes we do, like I said, sometimes there are some programs we do, like for smallholder farmers. For instance, we just give them beds and give them some bags of feed. That's not even sometimes, it is for free. But like I said, this thing is constrained by the finance that we have. So it doesn't go that much. So there's nothing like a subsidized feed, actually.
Okay, what about the vet services? He also asked about.
Yeah, the same thing. The only thing, the vet services, what I can assure you that what you do, for instance, just like we do too, part of the service, we render professional service. We can visit your farm, to give you advice on your farm. If you want to a farm location, the siting of your farm and the layout and everything, we can give you that service. We don't charge you anything. In most cases, we can carry you, mobilize us, we go to that, they come and carry us, we go there, we do your thing. The same thing for the vet services. The medication and all that, they cannot give it to you for free. You have to pay for this thing, but they can come and render that service that you want them to render to you.
Okay, I have a question, a quick one. You mentioned new program that was launched this year. This is NATIP, the innovation and
for technology and the innovation policy.
Yes. So you said this is is it a 1 year, 2 year program? And
no, it's a 6 years.
6 year program. So what can people who want to go into poultry or existing poultry farmers, how can they benefit? Should they contact you directly to find out if it's too much?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. They can. Okay. Like I said, the bottom, what it is looking at is to apply technology and the new knowledge we have into agriculture. Like one of the ways it's playing out for us now is that because of climate change, we are advising people to go into climate smart poultry houses, different from what it used to be. And if I have time to it's an elevated poultry house. That is just what it is. Different from the normal standard that you have to put on the ground.
So yes, you're controlling the environment.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand. So this kind of technology requires capital. That is a big challenge. Let's be honest, because I can imagine they will be housed in temperature controlled, chicken hen. I mean, what do you call the coop?
No, ma. It's the same. Not the same. You just raise it up. It's the same thing. You're raising it up means that the ammonia that comes from the droppings does not affect the beds anymore. It's well ventilated. They will not be subject to disease. The heat stress will not be much. The pollution, there will not be no pollution and all that. So this is just, we are now managing that micro distance. It's not as if you have to put AC. No, that's not what it is really.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think there's a lot detail that people might require from you, but since this is just a 2-hour webinar, we can't go deep into this. What we'll do now is we promise to send the slides and your contact details to everybody who's attended. Yes, thank you so much, Victor. And now I'll hand over to Farida to introduce the second speaker. She's going to come at 5. Thank you, Farida. Over to you. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Victor.
Okay. Okay, just a second, please. I'm bringing up my PowerPoint. Okay, next speaker is Cynthia Moshomola Umoru. and she's an agribusiness entrepreneur and consultant who is extremely passionate about food, farming, and the community. Her dream is for Nigeria to attain national food security, which can only be achieved through increased education of youths and women within the local communities. She's a zoology graduate she's a zoology graduate and alumnus of the Pan-African University under the Enterprise Development Center, and Ashoka Fellow and alumna of the U.S. Department of State's International Visitors Leadership Program. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you for joining us. Good evening.
Okay, Pretty Miss Farmer. This is her nickname.
Hey.
Pretty Miss Farmer. Hi, thank you for coming, my sister. This is one of my favorite people. She's so inspiring. Thank you for joining us. Over to you now. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me. Do you mind? I mean, I don't know what's in the background, but this virtual background is making me not like the look of me. I'm actually at work.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
is it possible they remove the
So,
background?
Habib, can you remove the I produce background and just let her have
Okay, it's your logo. Okay.
No, we don't have to have it because we can't actually see you properly. So maybe Habib will
Yes,
remove
I can't see myself, and
Yeah.
that's beginning to
Yeah.
I
bother
think
me.
it's from her. It's from her system.
So
Oh.
what am I supposed to do?
Look at your
Go
There's
to
a
your
place that says
virtual
background.
background.
And just say normal. Press normal.
I tried doing it a while back, and that
Didn't work. Oh wow.
video setting.
Yeah, maybe it's your settings. Definitely it's from your side, I think. So Habib, I have a background as well. Are you sure? I have the same background. Sorry, also you are going to have to. Okay, should we put a picture of you, the one that you sent us?
Maybe that will probably
Okay.
because what I'm seeing is white light, so
okay. All right. But do you have a presentation?
But I can start.
Are we going to make a presentation?
Yes, I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay. So
yes,
fine.
I'm going to talk through a presentation. So it makes life easy for all of us.
Okay, then thank you.
I thought I had. Okay, so thank you so much, Mr. Victor, for the introduction. That was great, refreshing to hear from someone from FMAD. So long. Can you see my screen?
No, we can see you. What you do is put your video off first. If you put video off, your network will be stronger because right now it's
Hello.
Can you put your video off? Stop your video. Good. Okay. Then,
I have done that.
Okay, great. Now you can start upload your share screen upload. You know, the network sounds really slow from your end, actually. So I hope the slide would upload. For Habib, do you have the slide for you to upload for her slides?
No.
Oh, okay.
But if you can send it now, share it with me now, I can.
Okay, maybe you could just send via email quickly and then start talking before the slide comes on. Yeah, but send it to him. He'll upload
it. I have it. I have it here.
Okay, great. You're sharing. We can see you now. We're sharing. Yeah. Okay, great.
Oh, super. So let me close the outline. My name is Mosmola Umaru, but like Madam Aisha said, everyone calls me Pretty Miss Farmer. It's a delight to be here to share one of my favorite, very interesting part of my life and journey, which is in the poultry sector. I'm always glad to talk about this sector because I literally and practically live in this sector every day. Whether it's, and it's a very broad sector, and I like the background that Mr. Can you hear me though? Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, I can hear you here. I can hear you here.
Okay, Mr. Victor, thank you. I can hear your voice.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, awesome.
Nice to connect with you once again.
Same here.
Right.
Always a delight to work with people in the animal husbandry division and the livestock unit.
Thank you very much.
I like to just talk broadly first on the opportunities in the sector and where the opportunities lies, and that for me is breaking it down into smaller components or divisions, as you can say. Poultry is basically breeding birds, one of the livestock branches for animal protein. But as an entrepreneur myself, I have segmented them into the aspect that I have identified that young people especially can take advantage of. And I'll try and limit my conversation into about 25, 30 minutes tops so that we can actually interact via question and answer. If you look at the poultry sector, it's a very interesting sector. Per capita consumption globally is about 20 kilos of poultry meat annually, which means that if you take a rough estimate of the Nigerian population at 200 million, it means that we're ideally meant to be consuming 20 kilos of chicken per capita, which is by 200 million. So for 40 million kilograms of chicken, if I am not wrong, if my brain still functions right, because 10 kilos technically results into 200 million, 20 million, and 200 million, 20 kilos is technically 40 million kilograms. So for me, these are the kind of numbers that keep me awake. So if you're going to put the average cost of one chicken today at 3,000 to 4,000 naira per bird, and the country demands by nutritional needs, we should have, it's a multi-billion dollar sector. And that's why I've stayed and played in this sector for upward 17 years. And I have no plans of quitting yet. Rather, like Mr. Victor said, it's to adopt new technologies, new practices, be innovative in how we drive our business operations and our encounter in the sector. So the first point of call for me, for young people, is if you can't find money to set up a commercial farm, you can actually go into hatchery, egg production, and leave the big task initially to those who have the financial muscle or financial power to drive the process. So you're either going to play in chicken hatchery production, in egg processing. Well, egg processing should be the last, but it's something because egg powder is being used for all sorts. A lot of base for some food product is dependent on egg powder. For those who are not lactose intolerant, for those who are even lactose intolerant, egg powder is a substitute for them, whether for making their milk, derivative, or making yogurt, or making food or drinks, at home. And then you can play in broiler poultry farm for meat. You can either do frozen chicken meat processing. You can do layer birds for eggs. You can do organic manure in the sector. So by setting up an equipment shop, or you actually process feeds. Now, this pretty much breaks down the entire cycle to use Zoom because now I'm a normal person. So you can start from what we call the grandparent stock, which is the first generation after the elite breed, which are usually very native to the environment where they are from. And they're different breeds. So I'm not even going to begin to bore you with the breeds of chickens right now, because for some of us here, it will probably be early stage. So from the elite breed, we have the grandparent stock, then you have the great grandparent stock, then you have the grandparent stock, and then you have the multiplier farms, and then you have brooder farms. And so if you're doing whether turkey, pullet, which is for eggs, or you're doing broilers, you're doing pullet, or you're doing table egg farm production, this is what the cycle looks like. Now, the interesting thing is that across this entire value chain, when I encourage young people, especially and women, I say just pick one. Pick one or pick two that are complementary and you're able to operate. If you want to work in the live bird market, for example, Mr. Victor was referencing Dear Market in Abuja, where they have just put in a facility, a processing facility. It means that in that live bird market, birds will be transported there between 1 to 5 days and they're sold off. So you're either doing different variety of live birds like layers, broilers, noilers, and all the breeds he has mentioned, or you're doing other services for people in that market, or you're doing wholesale. So you go to the farm, to the holding farm, as this arrow has indicated, and you buy bulk from the farmers, and then you wholesale to the people in the farmers market, or you do supply directly to the market. So either way, you're either a middleman. So this wholesale player here could either be a middleman. Now I've put them in percentiles. You know, and this is a borrowed slide from a friend, from a senior colleague. So wholesale usually covers about 77% of the work or produce from the farm. And you can then move down to the farmstead carries the bird. So whether it's broiler, noiler, layers, cockerels, whichever one, there's an opportunity for you to play across this chain. So I won't bore you, but before I go to the next slide, you can even start a small operation, which people call backyard farming. Now with your backyard farming, you can have a small, if you can, depending on how much space you have at the back of your hand. And I'm going to show you what a typical coop in a small standard backyard operation looks like. And your operation could either be, so let me break it down a bit further. You're either doing commercial farming, farming, or you're doing homestead farming. If you're doing homestead farming, then you will do small quantities. You probably may not be able to grow above 1,000 birds, but and you can start with 5, as little as 1 chicken, 5 chickens, 10, depending on what your financial power and capacity is, and scale it up to 1,000. Now, if you live in the urban center, then it may be tough to do that volume because the smell from the poultry droppings will really infuriate your neighbors, and you've got to be careful and manage all of that. But if you live in the rural setting where you have access to land, you're able to, you can do so much, you know, if you live in the rural setting. So homestead farming in the rural setting can be very joyful, you know. And I've seen women who've raised their children, sent them to school from homestead farms, from homestead farms. So this is a standard chicken coop that you can put at the back of your house, typically about 10 feet by 7, or you can do 20 feet, depending again on what you can afford. But this is just a simple design where your chickens come out. And because if you're doing organic, this kind of simple coop will be very beautiful at the back of your home. You know, it means that the children, grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews can easily come in, chase the chickens around, especially if you have a lot of greens. That way you can do organic farming and you don't have to spend so much on commercially produced feeds. Now, if you're doing, on the other hand, you're doing commercial farming, then what Mr. Victor was alluding to about having raised pen or elevated pen may then begin to apply to you. And the reason why this is being encouraged is it has many advantages. It can be expensive to build because if you look in this middle area here, to a large extent, it's concrete slats or floor. But the way it is designed and constructed is such that it allows us to lose poultry droppings at the bottom. So we're doing two things with one structure. We are ensuring that the animal health is great because there's good ventilation within the pen. We're also ensuring that the poultry droppings, which also when it begins to age, can create and generate a lot of ammonia. And ammonia gas can intoxicate the birds, and it can also make the livestock the stock you have ill. So you want to get rid of that. The last advantage of this kind of pen is that we can then harvest the poultry droppings and sell them as some degree of fertilizer. You can use them to make organic compost, organic manure, because it is animal waste. You can do a good mix of brown, which are dry leaves, a good mix of the poultry dropping with soil, and actually culture them to get good planting soil. For those who want to do gardening at home, for those who are doing small farms, vegetable farms, because the cost of fertilizer, that synthetic fertilizer as it were, sometimes can be inhibitive. But I can tell you that today, even the cost of poultry droppings is just as high. The only difference is that if you have one close to you, you can make good arrangements with them and evacuate because they're constantly looking for how to get rid of the poultry droppings. Now, the other aspect which I had mentioned was chicken hatchery. This is in modern terms, you say the hatchery covers the sector in a manner that day-old chicks are produced. So by hatchery, we mean you take the eggs into a facility where the eggs are inserted in an incubator, like the mother's womb for humans. And the eggs are then incubated for a period. It depends on the livestock, on the breed of bird. Some 0 to 28, some 40-something days. And when the day-old chicks are harvested, they are then sold to the market. Now, some farmers are now beginning to invest. We're all beginning to invest in small incubators, because if you're doing turkey farming and you want to multiply them annually, or if you're doing full organic farming and you get your first parent stock, like I did some time ago, this is a nice to have. But some of these ones may not set more than 100 eggs. Okay, so this, for instance, we set 7 by about 5 all the way in, and 7 times 1, 2, 3, about 30. So this will do about 150 eggs. And if your power is good, if your management practices are great, you can have between 100 to 140 day-old chicks on the day of your harvest, on the day they hatch, you know. And if you don't have room for them in your own farm, you can sell to other farmers who will be very happy to buy a pure line of chicken breed. Now, if you're doing broiler farming, poultry farming commercially, which is what we use for a lot of the table birds that are used by QSRs, by that I mean the quick service restaurants, or for hotels, or the ones that are boxed in our 10 kg commercial packages, then this is what a commercial pen house typically looks like today, with the automatic feeding lines, automatic drinking lines and nipples. This house is fully enclosed, so temperature control, climate control, like Madam Aisha commented earlier. This is one option, but the other option, these same lines can work conveniently in the raised pens. Or if you're using pure deep litter, you can build a pen like this, but it will be fully ventilated with wire mesh housing and all of that. So it's your pocket size that determines your entry point and your investment appetite. But commercial broiler farming is very interesting. You can start a farm from as low as 1,000 birds to 100,000 broiler per month, because it takes about 6 weeks to get them from day-old chicks to market size. We've experimented a lot, and we've done 40 days, 42 days intervals. We've done 48 days intervals. We've done different cycles, and at some point we've had very high yield. After 42 to 48 days, you're getting an average of 1.8 to 2.5 kilograms. Market demand is usually higher for between 1.3 and 1.6 kg for the restaurateurs and hotels. So that's one good aspect of commercial farming that you can look into. Now, I don't have all the pictures for this farm again. I lost some of my images, but this was my very first broiler house. And it was nothing near a commercial. Well, it was a semi-commercial production for me at the time. I was very young, straight out of college, and I found it hard to sell these chickens because many of them even weighed as high as about 3 kg at the time. They had become like babies after 6 to 8 weeks. So, I mean, it's been a very interesting journey. So that was me back in the days and one of my early day staff. Now we have large houses, each one unit housing about 5,000 broilers, and we're scaling up, but that's where we are. So egg processing, you can either grade the eggs for commercial sales in the store, for direct consumption. You can process them into egg powder. You can pasteurize the egg for baking purposes, and yes, for baking and making snacks and pastry products. You can make sprays out of them from drying. The eggshells can be processed for calcium as a good source of calcium. In fact, I have some young mentees, these girls are under 14, and they have their own company and they recycle eggshells. I used to have another beautiful one who we lost, who passed on a few months ago, and she commercialized her eggshell processing business and was making scoring powder. And that scoring powder, she wasn't just selling, she was the first indigenous micro business owner in Nigeria to make scoring powder and actually export them. So a fully export-oriented plant can be set up, and it has high cash incentives. So you can plug yourself across the poultry value chain and build a huge industry. So I thought to share so I said another aspect is frozen chickens. So the demand for frozen chickens is on the rise. I mean, it dwindled during COVID, but now we're back to where the economy has opened up. Some of us are processing on average 300 to 400 chickens a day. Some of us are processing on average 1,000 to 10,000 chickens a day. So it depends on your scale. It depends on your investment level, but you can enter at any point. Now, these are manually operated equipment. When you take the average live chickens like this will be your end product, right? So this is what the chicken you buy in the retail store looks like. But for some of us at early stage, this is how we started. So this is the bleeding cone. When they slit the throat, because we have a lot of halal related consumers. So the chickens have to be properly cut, the throat slit, and the blood drained. So this table here is a typical draining table. This up here is the same draining cone, but it's not a table. So they have to lower the chickens into those cones and then put them in a scalding tank, one of these. By scalding tank, it's like the boiler where you put the water and then you dip the chickens in by holding the foot, and you then throw them later into this defeathering machine to get the feathers out. Now, when you do that, cut off the butt and remove the offals, and then you end up with a pretty product like that. And then you can begin to either sell the chickens with the giblets. By giblets, we mean the gizzard, liver, and kidney, or you sell them in parts you either sell them as whole chickens like this, sell them in parts, sell them with the giblet stuck in the middle. But these days, people like to buy large quantities of the giblets. So we even commercialize that. Those are individual products on their own. We do boneless breast, we do boneless legs, we do drumsticks, we do drumstick with skin, drumstick without skin, whole chicken legs with skin, whole chicken skinless, you do chicken wings, you do lollipops. It depends. You do sausages, we make frankfurters. You can do all sorts with chicken products. So, and you can decide, I don't want to process, I want to buy from a processor, and then I just want to sell the parts. So you can do retail, you can do wholesale. There are huge opportunities across the poultry value chain. Now, if you move up the value chain and you want to become a bit more industrial, this is what a typical industrial processing line looks like. The floors are colored green for safety, for movement as well. So it's not just bare floor, because in some cases we've had factory injuries because people slip and fall on tiles. So if they're not core vitrified tiles, you're better off just painting the floor and having your drainage systems managed properly. Now, the other aspect is layer poultry for eggs. Now, here, so many things come to play. There are people who manufacture feed strictly for this sector, and that's one aspect for them. Now, you can do eggs you can do chicken eggs, you can do turkey eggs, ostrich, you can breed ostriches. So, and you can keep reproducing. So you can have a parent stock farm for laying eggs strictly, and you can have table eggs that we fry and boil and eat in our homes. So egg production is just a huge subsect of the sector that you can plug into and just take full advantage of. I heard Mr. Victor said they're trying to revitalize one of the programs, which was being run, Neg Pro. If that can come alive, I mean, it's like an anchored borrower scheme for egg production. So I worked at the ministry at the time that was designed. So I was a part of formulating and working on that process. So yes, you can do egg production commercially. You can also do organic manure, and I've shared how that can work. So it works with taking the poultry droppings and converting them into fertilizer. Just leveraging some technology, it's mixing, drying, sterilization, body mixing, granulation, so you can turn them into pellets so they look like the synthetic NPK fertilizer. When they're cooled and screened, you can measure them and put, you can do all sorts with them. So that's one other aspect. And then you can set up an equipment shop. I'll tell you why I added this. As a business owner and an actor in the sector, I know how much we spend on equipment and sundry equipment, main equipment annually. One of our one of our breeding lines, which we imported from Italy a few years ago, cost us about 15 million. Today, that singular line, I mean, this was when dollar was how much? 250, 200, 190, 220 to the dollar. And one line cost about 15 million. And building. Today, that same line will set us back. So do the exchange rate. If at 200,000, it was 15 million or 10 million. At 700 Naira, what is that same line going to cost? Now, some of these equipment are not built to last forever. So some of them have a lifespan of 5 to 10 years. Some have a lifespan of 10 to 15. Some, if they're very Chinese and the importer is a Niger person who just wants to maximize profit, then your equipment may not last you more than 1 to 2 years or 3. So you would have to repurchase, and people will buy nipples because sometimes the chickens also get violent. They break them, they crack them, and you keep changing a lot of accessories on the farm. So I deliberately added this to the presentation because it's one aspect that is undermined. People don't look into it. There's the other aspect in the poultry sector, which is a bit more technical, which is vaccines. Vaccines and medication for commercial farms. All of those things are still important. It would be nice to see how people can get licensed, certified to set up vaccine plants in Nigeria. If you're buying temperature controlled, if you're buying manual operated, there are too many accessories to buy in the sector. So young people can easily trade. You don't have to burden yourself with primary production, where you can actually just serve the actors and sell equipment and tools. So you can set up a tool shop, you can set up an accessories store, you can set up, so you can just be the poultry support company where we all come to and buy our accessories from. So from ventilation systems to nipples, name it. There are too many equipment and accessories in the sector that you can market. I'll move to the next slide. Now, this is very critical, poultry feed manufacturing. The real life of any farm after biosecurity is dependent on the quality of feed. So your animals will only be as great as what they eat, because we all are what we eat. So our animals are also what they eat. If you feed them toxins, that's what they will bring out. And your consumers will always never come back, because poor quality feed means poor quality meat and yield. So whilst someone else is using a high yield composition and the other person is compromising the quality of the feed they use, when my harvest is in 42 days, such a person may still be at it for 2 months or longer. So it's totally dependent on. I'm sorry about that. So sorry. I should have put that on silent mode. I apologize. Yes, so basically that's where we look at that and yes, take advantage of feed production. So at this point, I think I'll draw the curtain on speaking side questions and let's interact. Thank you so much for listening. I will like to stop here and just take questions so that we can take advantage of the time. Over to you, Dr. Aisha, Madam Aisha.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Your
There
PhD review.
Yes. My head is a bit full of information. I'm still trying to take it in. You've given us so many ideas and kind of opened up all the opportunities and possibilities, and it's quite exciting. I think with what Victor has said, what you said, there's I think we're onto something here. The idea is actually just of this webinar is actually just to sort of get people interested. We can't provide all the information right now, but I think we've given a good idea. And thankfully, we have your slides. So with your permission, we'll share with all the people. Yes, please, we'll email everyone with the slides. And then if it's okay with you as well, to give your contact email address so that people who have questions try and help us ourselves. You know, this is a time when people don't know how to make ends meet. So this is why I think we decided to pick on something like this, because it's something that is quite easy to get into, like you said. We have a quick Q&A box, so I don't want to do too much talking. And if you don't mind, to have a look down.
I am.
Okay, yes. So somebody's already asking, how successful can the business? You start from Mahmoud. Yes, so then I'll stop and then you can answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. So how successful can the business of frozen chicken be? Extremely successful. I mean, so you get from any business as much as you put to it. That's the truth. My further question to that to you will be, how disciplined are you to go into this sector? Because it requires a lot of bootstrapping. You can't. So there's the dealing with purchasing your initial equipment and determining where your starting point will be. And that's depending on how much you have to take off this frozen chicken business. And then there's the managing power. So for example, we started off January this year in our retail outlet, and power monthly as our January was about between 250 and 300,000 a month, power only, power cost. But by the time we got to March, we were already between 500 and 750,000 on power cost, because many times we're depending on generator because there's no public power supply. So that's one factor you need to think about. Are you going to be thinking innovative with innovation? Are you going to buy solar power freezers? Are you going to depend on the power grid, or are you going to use generators? So how do you fuel your energy supply? That's totally up to you. But the sector can be lucrative, but you have to look critically and closely at your numbers. It's very easy to do high turnover and get carried away because it's a low margin business, right? So if you come to the farm gate and you buy chickens from me today at 1,950 a kilo frozen chicken, 2,000 naira, live weight, dead weight, you probably will retail that same dead weight 2,000 naira from me between 2,002 and 2,500 naira, depending on your market segment and if you're located in a highbrow store, if your store or retail business is located in a highbrow area, you can even mark up your price as high as 2,500 a kilo. So that gives you a leeway of about 500 naira a kilo. So the question is, where is your marketing drive to increase volume and sell push high volumes into the market space? So that's a good entry point. You can start with as low as 50,000 naira, buy some chickens, sell them, buy some and replenish your stock. And once people believe they can trust you,
Wrong with your network. I don't know. Same thing. Something is going wrong with your network all of a sudden. Oh dear, oh dear. Something is wrong. Sorry.
Has to be guaranteed time. It's a lot of work.
Okay, well,
It can be profitable
lost you for a
on
few
the
minutes.
long run, but not on the short run.
Okay.
Maybe perhaps you can stop sharing your screen so that oh, she's gone.
Wow. Oh dear. Okay. We have 15 minutes to go. Before she comes back, perhaps you can open up so people can talk about if anybody's already in business. Just some comments before she comes back. We only have 15 minutes to go, so it's not too bad.
Okay, so we have one person raising his hand. Maybe
Please
let me
let them-
allow.
Yes, please let them allow. Let's allow people.
Muhammad Mahmoud.
Okay. And she's back as well. So, but let Mohammed speak,
Sorry,
please.
back up now.
Right.
Are
You're
you
back.
here? Okay.
Yes, yes. Okay. I think we finished, you just finished answering the question about large farm investment. Not so? You weren't finished?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
I
let you finish, then we'll open the floor. Thank you.
Yeah. I can't remember. Okay. Yes, and then large farm investment, how you manage the hair. Do you use it for other things? Hair or feathers, you mean? Okay, so feathers can actually be processed. Depending there, if you go online, what I tell many young people is that 80% of the solutions you're looking for is actually on the internet. Google should be your best friend. There are a lot of resources on chicken feather production, processing, and all of that. But again, that's a lot of work because you need to really sanitize the feathers. They can be used for different things, but like filling the pillows, stuffings, and all of that. But because kids and other people have different allergy issues, you really need to treat them properly. So yes, that's about it. But chicken feathers are being recycled. Sometimes they are used. We also recycle them to make compost as well, but they take a longer time to decompose. So except we dry them and then blend them, it's a lot more work because of the stock that is in them, which is a calcium source. So we can actually add them to, when they dry, we can actually add them to organic manure because you still need some degree of calcium in the soil as well, especially if you're farming vegetables. Yeah. For your information, poultry odor killer is available. Yes, but only if you're doing commercial farming. If you are doing organic farming, you can't use, so there's some that are ingested such that when the poultry drops, it doesn't smell. But some people, another school of thought says, how harmful is that product to the health of the animal? Something that can kill a natural process, should we be consuming? So it's a catch-22 for those who are organic lovers. It may not be it will be a hard sell. So it depends on where you're playing from or at. Yes, I think that's all the question I see in the chat box for me or directed to me.
Yeah.
Mahmoud can take over from here. If there's any, I'm sorry, Habib, sorry. If there's any other question, then I'll be happy to answer.
I have a question for you. It's
Please
not,
go ahead.
you might not be able to answer it, but I'm just curious that a lot of women are kind of shying away from this business. Even the participants, I can see that only a small percentage are women. Is it something that women feel it's too a masculine business or difficult? I don't know what it is, but can you speak to that?
There are
young
quite a
women.
number of women playing in the sector, to be honest. The only challenge is that it depends on where each woman is in her life and her journey. So it's laborious, it's demanding. And as you know, you're a woman yourself. Most of our women are encouraged to get into the ringbaby.com industry. So it's get married, have a baby, full stop, to a certain degree. So many women are not, some people retire into farming and retire into, but a good number of women play in the poultry sector. We have maybe more homestead female farmers, but commercially we have, and it's even commercially it's growing. Many women play, but it's capital intensive. So people can't do what they can't afford. And then it's also laborious. So we don't have robots to do the work. You must have workers, and staff turnover on a lot of the poultry farms, I can tell you for free, is high. So it's a limiting factor. But many nursing mothers won't go into poultry farming just immediately.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the people who've raised their hands, I think Mohammed's hand. So maybe we'll allow, and Victor's raised his hand as well. So Mohammed first and then Victor quickly. Thank you. We only have about 10-15 minutes left. Anyway.
Okay.
Habib, can you allow him to speak, please? Mohammed Mahmoud.
Yeah, so just unmute your microphone, Mohammed, and you can talk.
Victor, can you
Okay, there's
speak?
another person
Yes,
raising the
Victor.
hand, maybe Bello.
Yes.
Please.
Hello.
Hello, please go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Pretty Farmer. What a wonderful presentation. I quite enjoyed it. I just want to buttress what you said in response to what Madam Aisha asked, that women shy away from the poultry production. You know, poultry industry is a huge value chain, just like Mosmola has listed. I think where women are mostly involved is in the marketing aspect. You see lots of women going to farms to purchase eggs and take to the market. That is where it's an easy one for them, that they actually where they play. And like she said, some of them are if you look at the homestead, the family poultry side, it is actually the women mainly, and that their number is huge. Because if you see the statistics I gave, about 70 to 80% of the poultry production we have is from family poultry, and that revolves around the women and the home estate. That is the situation, madam. Thank you. Except that, okay, for the commercial, the large scale area, no, you might be right with that observation. That's what I wanted to contribute to that area.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Mr. Mohammed. I think
okay,
it's.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. My question goes to Mr. Victor. We know that the federal government of Nigeria is trying to move away from the crude. However, we are not seeing that being reflected on the students going into universities and polytechnic, trying to motivate them to choose courses like that of agriculture. Many students, when you give them admission to study agric, they feel like, okay, they are failures. How do government address this issue to motivate students to go into agricultural courses in the institutions?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I will point them to our pretty Miss Farmer. Mosumela is an example of that. She's she's educated. She has told you that she's into this and she's not preparing to leave it yet. So you can see the passion that she has for it. There are lots of them like that. And the truth of the matter is that the way people look at agriculture, Yes, there are some hiccups, here and there. But then, if you go into it, people like to go, do things the easy way. Just like I said, you just go to farms, go and buy crates of egg, go and start the marketing. The value chain is much, the poultry value chain. You can even decide to say what you want to go and be carrying the droppings and be marketing to farmers. If that thing does not drop, go to any poultry farm. Tell them you are looking for a poultry dropping for manure. You won't get it. So the truth of the matter is that the students of these days, there are a lot of things to be done. That's why I told you that we have demonstration farm here in FCT. And various times we have had contact with the University of Abuja students. We encourage them to come for those who are willing. You understand? So even it is not only in poultry. We are doing micro livestock. We do snail. We do grass cutter. We do honeybee. We do pig. That honeybee that I mentioned, like I told some of them, you can use that one to train yourself in school. Just put some beehives at the back of your house, either in the village or somewhere around. We'll tell you what to do. Within that year, the money you are going to, when that thing colonizes, the money you are going to get, do you know how much is a bottle of pure honey? Not adulterated one. Go and find out. So there are opportunities. It depends on where you are looking at. So that's the point. Like I said, you have my number. You can reach me. We can talk. We can talk more.
Actually,
okay?
Yeah, actually, what I'm still saying is the synergy. We have the Ministry of Agriculture, we have Ministry of Education. We are not seeing that in our institutions. Today, you see students moving away from agriculture. What I'm trying to say is that, okay, if there is this program in Abuja and the cities like Lagos, are you coming down to, like, let's say we have Federal Polytechnic Kaduna, we have that of Cat Poly, we have that of Bida, we have those ones, and the other universities that are not in the capital city. How do you speak to these final year students? Because the students, what they see is that when they leave this institution, they will find a job. The youth corpus too, like that, and they become a problem.
Okay, you see, you've just raised one of the points I mentioned when I was presenting the challenges of policy conceptualization and implementation, and that is the issue of the collaboration and coordination of between the ministry, the MDAs, and maybe some of the agricultural institutions and stakeholders not being very robust. That is what affects the implementation and the success of some of these policies. They might be very good, but because of one issue here and there, just like you have just observed now, maybe between Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Education, that is one of the major problems of policies, programs, and project implementation. You are right about that, but we shouldn't allow that to. Now, this is an opportunity that you have seen on your own. Why don't you, catch it and run, and run with it? People should. The world is now a global village. You can make inquiry, make contact what is happening, make out this thing. Just like you said, that President Ismail said that there's nothing you are looking for that you cannot see in the net. People use their time for things that might not be them. You search and you get the information if you really want to. So, but that collaboration actually is one of the things we try to improve on. Like the present policy, the NAPTIP has recognized some of these lapses, and I can tell you that in its implementation, a lot of things are going to change going forward.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Victor.
Yes, madam.
This implementation of NAPTIP.
Yes.
Is there a timetable? Is there how do you get our members of iProduce to key in? Should we discuss that after? Maybe
yes, like I said, you have my contact to be communicating. Like this, it was even which just last week, this thing was actually launched in Fraser, Fraser Suite here in Abuja. So it's a very, very new, new policy on the block.
I think what we'll do is just to help the members create awareness. Some of them have not even joined this webinar, is that we'll follow up with you, find out a way that we can, and for information, there was somewhere somebody said CSU. CSO, that is civil society organizations.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes, and you said what are they? So basically that question that the person asked had to do with what can civil society, how can civil society partner with the ministry? Because but I think with the doors that have been opened, with the way that you've responded, your presentation was excellent, and you're ready to share your slides, your contact details. It's obvious that federal government is trying to partner with the civil society. And on our own part, we should also try and get in, like you said, take the bull by the horn, take it and run with it. The policies and programs are quite friendly. So the only gap that I can see is the financing gap. But like Mosun has said, that you could start small. So if you don't have a large pocket and you're not able to access funding, what you do is start with something small and then grow it. Okay, and that way you can even learn rather than investing a lot of money and then it going down. You see that there's a risk there. When you start small, you understand as you go. It just requires patience. But that is very key in any business, actually. People should not expect to be to turn into profit the first year, the second year. People in the developed countries wait up to 5 years to break even, or 3 years break even. But in Nigeria, if you don't break,
they want it now.
Yes, if something cannot be, yes, if you don't get that, people don't understand business takes time. You start with the income, and then it takes a while to recoup. You break even, and then you go into the from red, you go to white and begin to make profit. So patience is important, and lots of training. And thankfully, you said that Ministry of Trade and Agriculture will be ready to do extension services, and that if anybody's interested, they approach you, you give them the advice, they pay. So if you have the money, you still need somebody to tell you the do's and the don'ts, and to make the risk, reduce your risk, because risk is high in agribusiness. So I think risk management is so important. And if this is something that can be done free, that is a big plus, And then another thing we would like is probably the financials. So I don't know, between Mosun and Victor, the financials in terms of, this business, a plan for this type of business.
Cost implication for
cost implications, and just generally, if you start with X amount and you're doing this particular business, whether it's egg, whether it's just the frozen, there's so many, like you said, what are the financials for each of them? That requires people to be educated so that they know what to expect when they're going into it. So there's a lot of work to do before you start. This is just the beginning, where we're just scratching the surface, to be honest. And so I'm going to hand over to you, and then Victor, because we've got 3 minutes. Thank you. Over to you.
I will. Sorry, man. Let me just quickly respond to what you said regarding the civil society organization. One thing they could do is that whatever they do, wherever they are, they can write to the ministry. All right, and that they right to address it to the permanent secretary. Maybe if what they want is has to do with animal husbandry, they will write it to the permanent secretary. Attention, the director animal husbandry services, and they write state what they want there, what is their prayer, what they do. Definitely, it will not come down to us.
Okay.
When it comes down to us, then definitely, if it will get to us, we'll have to attend to it the way we can. I can just tell you now. Then, as we go on, we can keep working on it.
Fantastic. That's excellent. Thank you. I can attest to the fact that I wrote to the ministry, and less than a week ago or something, and before you know it, I got the response, and then here we are with Victor giving us all this information. So definitely, the ministry is there. We have to also make the move. So let me hand over to Mosun first, and then we close. Thank you.
Okay, so Thank you very much. Two things I just wanted to say before we wrap up. For the young people or startups on this program is that you're going to need to find a way to invest. You've taken the first step in seeking knowledge, but you're going to take it one step further in finding funding. Sometimes you can't always get all the knowledge and information you require free. You can get some templates, you can get guides, but a full commercial business plan will not be available on the internet. So you're going to have to pay for services. And sometimes services are negotiated. They can be negotiated. You can trade off something, your time, you can volunteer, there are different ways to get those things, but there has to be a price. Even in Freetown, there's no free lunch. So if you're going into commercial farming or you're looking into investing in something that would generate revenue for you, then you must be able to sow a seed towards it. That's on one hand. So I think that, yes, we'll be able to handhold some of you to a certain degree, but like I just said, it's just to a certain degree. The deep diving, the real core work will still be done by you. The real burden will be done by you. But there are different windows to leverage. I won't lie to you, there are. And Madam Aisha, you said something, and I wanted to say that the challenge and the bane of, one of the banes of our society is that our financial institutions are also not set up to support growing ventures. So there are alternate funding windows that people can explore. Some people are crowdfunding or crowdsourcing, even though to a certain degree, some people have abused it. But if you can walk through structured institutions, you can crowdfund for your startup. And if you can think of some of the challenges that you've heard me talk about, or Mr. Victor has pointed to, waste management, then you can also find grants. There are grant windows constantly trying to look into climate change and things like that. So if you look at the SDGs and you're solving one of the problems and your route to market is the poultry sector, trust me, you'll find funding. So it's time for us to all think out of the box. What are the big issues? How do we solve them? So Madam Aisha, I hope that beyond just facilitating, we can have one additional session that will be like a brainstorming workshop where people are bouncing ideas off each other and we're actually bringing up solutions.
Okay. I think we'll definitely take you up on that, Muslim. Thank you so much. And Mr. Victor, we're going to come back to you so that we can zero in and get into the financials. We'll see how we can get some finance institution to join us. And then perhaps we can have another session where we can go into, because the numbers really matter. We can't just do it off the top of our head, just say, oh, you were interested in this business, you're going to try it. We really need to do the financials. That's the discipline that I think we also Nigerians need to get used to. This is having a business plan, sticking to it, and keeping your accounts proper. That's another big area, because we normally, to access finance, you need to show your accounts. And a lot of people don't keep accounts formally. They have a business, it's very successful, but when they're asked to give their financials, they can't produce financials, they're not audited. So all that discipline has to come in if you're going to be serious about. It's a lot of work to put in the beginning, but I assure you that once you start on a good foundation, you can actually grow and become a Dangote. These people basically understand business. This is one thing we need to start getting used to. So on that note, it's 3 minutes past 7. I think a lot of people have to go now, and we are very happy that you're able to join us. And Victor and Musu, I can't thank you enough. You've just been inspiring, lots of knowledge we've gotten from you, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would be thinking about this tonight, these business ideas. So hopefully we'll follow up with this workshop, like you mentioned. And also you did mention the equipment business. So people who don't want to go into agri can go into the equipment, supplying equipment. And we have good people who know how to replicate. So we can be like the Chinese and start to copy the technology and produce them. I know a few people that are doing that already. So this is something that doesn't look too complicated. I'm sure that's another area. So on that note, I would like to thank you everybody again. Habib, Farida, thank you for everything, and our speakers and all the participants. Look forward to joining, having another session, continue part 2 of this. Thank you again. Yes, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
much.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Habib,
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye,
very
everybody.
much. It's been a wonderful time. All
Thank you.
right. So hoping to see you some other time too. And Musu, it's
Bye.
nice once again having to connect with you. Take care.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Mr. Victor. Bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
All right. Yeah.